Suzy Wrong. Joy Drive with Dee and Warren's film, TV and theatre reviewer.
Could be my favourite time of the week when we get to introduce and welcome back to the show our own reviewer, Suzy Wrong. Suzy, are you there?
Boys and girls and non-binary kids listening in, our word of the day is defiance.
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 Yes.
I love it.
Dee and Warren, do you use the word defiant to characterize yourself?
My mother defined me as defiant many years ago, if that's what you mean. I think she probably meant a little bit of a shit, though.
Yeah.
I don't think I've used
I can
it.
see that.
I haven't used it, but I did say to Dee before, no, I'm standing up to someone. We were having a bit of a personal conversation.
No,
So I
you're
think
good.
it's starting to turn up.
And you're good at encouraging me to be a bit more defiant. You're like, no, stand up for yourself. Do this. Meh.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we don't use that word very much, but I think it's so much in our nature, being the alphabet mafia, the LGBTQIA. It's almost in our nature that we are defiant, and it's almost like it's not by choice, really.
We're going to add D to the end of it now, LGBTIQA plus D.
Defiant.
Yes.
You're going to segue that nicely into talk of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, aren't you?
Yes, right, because it's all about defiance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. It is 1927 in Chicago, and Mother of the Blues Ma Rainey, played by the exquisite Viola Davis,
Amen.
is in a music studio making a record. The African-American diva is bold and brash, constantly asserting herself, always making her presence felt, always making sure that her status is taken seriously. And her horn player, Levy, on the other hand, is relatively unknown, but he too demands to be seen. Played heartbreakingly by the late Chadwick Boseman of Black Panther fame, he is undaunted by Ma's stature and reputation, even daring to steal her lover right in front of everybody's eyes.
I've got so much to say about this film, Suzy. Mm-hmm. Firstly, thanks for bringing it to us. I think it's an important piece. As with a lot of theatre pieces that are brought to film, it's weighty and verbose and hard to get into, I found. I think it looks beautiful, it's sumptuous, it's you can feel the heat in the studio, you can feel the tension, but I ran to boredom. Obviously it's hard to maintain my attention, but I think we both got a little bit bored at about the halfway, but I'm so glad I persevered because at the end it's very moving and quite powerful.
Yeah, it starts sort of more with Levy's drama, which was a little bit dry, I can see that. But when Miss Viola Davis comes in for the second half with Ma Rainey, it's just like nothing you've ever seen before, isn't it?
Yeah, and I wanted more music because it opens with such a bang, that live performance outside, and I think, it's going to be like this. It's all going to be. And is that Viola Davis's voice, the singing?
No, it isn't. I sat through the credits and saw that there was like a quiet little credit for a session singer. Okay,
but it's an amazing lip sync then because it's a very powerful thing. But she's amazing in this. I did not know until this very moment that Chadwick, who played Levy, had died.
That was very sad.
Now that I
colon
see
cancer.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
and he's got that whole section where he's arguing with God, He's talking about...
Come and take me.
Yeah, you cannot be real if you're doing this to me. And we are watching him die before our eyes. That was incredible.
Was he sick when he made this movie?
Yeah, he was very sick. Like, he's like half the man he used to be in this
Right.
movie.
Yeah, there's a big difference between what he was like in Black Panther. I really, I agree with Dee, Suzy. I struggled at first for the first part of it, and I actually watched it in 2 bits, and I was thinking, should I watch the second half? But then I realised that I was writing off Ma Rainey early as being quite difficult, and then I realised, okay, hang on a second, she's got a white manager, she's got a white person who owns the record studio as well, and she knows that they just want to make money out of her and her voice, and it's only her way of asserting her power is by being difficult.
Yeah, I kind of expected that the both of you would find it slightly challenging because it is not every day that we get a movie, especially of this scale and ambition, that's made almost exclusively for a black audience. And I think the way it addresses the black audience quite directly, like there's a lot of nuance there that, I think if you're not into the culture and you haven't if you're not very well educated with that sort of culture, it's hard to get into the language, especially. And I found the language really colorful. I would think that is poetic, rhapsodic language, but it could be hard because we're not used to hearing that. We don't hear that sort of African American language every day, so that's all very new to us.
I wonder how it plays in America, because I know that we can. I know that they can say the word, and they do frequently in this movie. But in America, I know they all still say the N-word. They will not utter that word. So I guess it's the reclamation of that word by the African American community. But it's still very confronting when you hear it as a slander in that way.
I think with Australian ears, we hear it so infrequently, it does come as a shock. Yeah,
I really liked Chadwick Boseman's performance in it, to be honest, and I found that the fact that they were stuck in a claustrophobic recording studio it was great because it added to the whole tension. And I found that during the sort of the narrative of what was going on with the band, it did expose us to lots of battles that they have been through in their lives, and I thought that was really good. The fact that there was this tension, and out of that, we got their stories.
It's also
it's
interesting.
extremely nuanced.
It's also interesting that sort of intersectionality that within the black community, there's also there's the aged and wise, but the ones that they sort of say, what's the word? These old, when the younger black man was referring to I want to say old Charlie or something.
I can't remember what it was.
The term that they use for the older black man, which is like he's basically a servant to the white man, and he was like, "You're just nothing but." Somebody will have that name. I can't remember. I'm so sorry. But I found it. The whole thing could be a 1.5 hour advertisement for Coca-Cola, because the only refreshing thing that happens, if you can imagine, it's just a sweaty, hot, and Viola Davis plays it beautifully. She's just dripping with sweat the whole time. She's a larger woman. It's uncomfortably clammy, the whole thing, and they're in a basement recording studio practicing. And then she demands that somebody bring her 2 icy cold Cokes. And when she drinks them, that's the only time that the pressure stops, and there's just this cool, refreshing bit, and she's like, right, let's get on and sing this song.
Is she lesbian, or is she...
Yeah, tell us about the sexuality of Ma in this.
According to Wikipedia, there was a par reigning, and they had an adopted child, I believe. But within the film, she was portrayed beautifully as a confident lesbian woman, and I think the director worked a lot to bring out that essence of it. I don't think it was a lot in the dialogue, but you know how that scene of her putting her arms around the woman that she adores, that was just so beautifully
Very
done.
intimate.
Yeah, it was a beautiful scene, and also the bit when they're saying to Levy, "Get your hands off, that's Ma's girl." And I'm like, hang on, what's going on here? Because I wasn't sure what the relationship was. It's a great bit of theatre, if nothing else. It's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. It's on Netflix streaming now. Suzy Wrong, will you stay around for a little minte? Because we want to get your Suzy Wrong.
Suzy will stay around. We're being defiant here.
We're being defiant. You must stay there, Suzy Wrong, and we're going to get your Joy Drive Top 5 shortly after this. Joy Drive. This is Joy Drive with Dee and Warren. The summer feeling.
It is. Now, Suzy Wrong, you're still there?
I am.
Oh, fantastic. Now, we are going to ask you about our Joy Top 5. But
mate, it's Joy Drive.
Joy Drive Top 5. But I do want to ask your professional opinion in terms of reviewing skills to review the little announcements that Dee has recorded for it, if you wouldn't mind listening.
I got some flack for this, but we've got a segment we're calling
Joy Drive Top 5 2020. Oh yeah.
Right?
I think it's sexy. It's very right, said Fred.
That's right.
Defiant.
So defiant. Now, Suzy Wrong, you've come on board the Joy Drive Top 5. Oh yeah. To give us your... Now, are you doing top 5 picks of 2020 or top 5 going forward for the summer break?
I'm doing top 5 picks of the stuff we've talked about the last few months.
Great.
Perfect.
Well, let's kick it off with...
Number 5.
Oh, Dee, they're getting worse.
Do you remember Equal? Remember that documentary
Yes.
series Equal that we did? I
Yes.
thought it was so entertaining. It was so well put together. It reminds us of all the forgotten bits of our activist history, all the stuff that came before Stonewall. I thought that was beautiful. Still available to watch on Binge.
Binge. Okay. And...
Number 4.
The Haunting of Bly Manor.
I didn't watch this.
I think, this was the one that probably put you off for the horror stuff in the start, but I thought it just became really sort of sublime and incredibly romantic, well written at the end. I really enjoyed that, and it had beautifully written lesbian characters in there as well.
So far we're all queer content.
We are doing all queer content because I'm defiant.
You are defiant.
Good on you.
Stand by.
Number 3.
Is the other documentary Disclosure on Netflix that I think anyone who's seen it you're gonna remember it for a long time. It's about trans representation on screen over the last 100 or so years. A lot of harrowing stuff, but also a lot of inspiring stuff in it.
It's one of my favourite documentaries of the year, of all of them. It was great.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Number 2 is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom that we've just spoken about.
That rated with you.
Wow.
It really resonated with me. I think it is the difference between myself being a woman of color and the both of you not being people of color. I think that there are just these nuances that spoke to me, and I think I'll leave it at that.
Suzy, we've just got an email in saying, please tell Suzy Wrong that her best recommendation better be...
Pose.
Pose.
Hang on.
Oh, actually, that's a No, that's a caveat. I should have said this before. Pose, because it didn't happen this year, so it's not in the running. That wasn't Pose this year.
Hang on.
Otherwise,
well, then this is controversial. Let me just play it.
Number 1.
And also, Hungry Ghost is not number 1 because I'm in it, and I won't play favoritism.
Oh, I loved Hungry Ghost.
Yeah, that was one of my favourites.
But the actual number 1 for me is P-Valley. I believe Warren saw a few episodes of that.
Yes.
Did I watch P-Valley, Warren?
You saw Pen 15. That was when we were really...
That's right, P-Valley. I didn't... Well, now I can't play along with your...
P-Valley was good, but I'm going with Pose without a caveat.
Hang on. What is your...
Number 1.
Let me just think about it, D. Pose. Mine is Pose.
My number
I
1
agree,
is absolutely Pose.
That was amazing, and anyone should go and see it.
And I will say, I will agree with you that Disclosure was absolutely my number 2.
Yeah, so hopefully Pose comes back sooner rather than later, hopefully early next year.
Yes.
But thanks again for introducing us to Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. It is available on Netflix, streaming all summer long. Suzy Wrong, next week you've got off, but, we're going to insist that you join us next year. Will you come back for 2021?
Oh, I would love to.
Oh, fabulous.
Oh, brilliant.
Thanks again. Have a great, safe and happy holiday season.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thanks, Suzy.
Wrong.